I'm Daryl Smith with the Connersville News-Examiner. I'll be asking some of the questions tonight. Of course, you'll be asking some as well. With me are James Sprague, editor of the News-Examiner. We also have John Pawsey, Joe Minerick, and Justin Roberts is around here somewhere from City TV Channel 3. I want to thank them. John and the staff at Channel 3 set up the stage. The City Parks Department set up all the chairs and the other equipment we have here tonight. And I guess Gary D. Woolery is in charge of the sound. So we want to thank all of those for participating tonight. You'll notice we're wearing pink ribbons tonight. This is, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I hope I got that right. So we thank you for passing those out. And we have the three candidates. The Democratic candidate, Harold Gordon, Republican candidate, Brian Cobb, and the independent, Holly Dunn. This type of forum, at least to me, is new, at least as far back as I can remember. Some of the been in the community longer than I have may remember something else similar to this, but really this is kind of new, especially where the audience gets to ask questions and the candidates will get a chance to offer a rebuttal. So we'll see how that goes. When we get started, I'll give each candidate 3 minutes to give an opening statement, and they'll get 3 minutes at the end to give their final statement. I will give the first question, and then I'll open it up to the audience. That way, they got a chance to kind of settle in. Excuse me. They will have 3 minutes to answer the question, each candidate, and then they'll have 1 minute for a rebuttal, if they so choose. And we may end up in a situation where there's another round of rebuttal. We'll just have to play that by ear. After my initial question and their answers, then we'll open it up to the audience. I would ask you to go to the podium back here and ask your question. I'll give you 30 seconds to do that. If the candidates do not understand the question, they'll have the opportunity to ask for a clarification from the questioner, and then the questioner can sit down. If possible, make those questions so that all three candidates can answer, and I would certainly ask that there be no personal attacks in those questions. I have additional questions that I will ask if there's kind of a pause in the audience questions, but anytime someone has a question, I go to the podium, and then at the next time for a question, I will recognize you. Mr. Sprague will keep track of time. He has a sign for 30 seconds left, and he has a little bell if you reach the 3 minutes or the minute on the rebuttal. So we can move this thing along tonight. Just to keep decorum in the room tonight, and I would ask that there be no comments come from the audience while they're speaking. And let's see. I did have the candidates pull out numbers, so they know who goes first. Harold was, I don't know if he's the lucky one or not, but he drew number 1.
You told me I was the cutest one.
Oh, is that what I Holly drew number 2, and then when Brian came in, or 3, and then when Brian came in, he ended up at number 2. So that's the order we'll go in tonight. That makes it easier for me to keep track. If I mess up and don't follow the order, I'm sure they will let me know, or I know the supporters out here in the audience will let me know that I've made a mistake, and I won't be offended. It's happened before when we've had the television or the in-studio candidate forums. I'd also ask you turn off your cell phones or put them on vibrate. And I think we're ready to start.
Okay.
So Harold, you have 3 minutes, and then we'll go to Brian and then Holly.
Okay, I am Harold Gordon, and I'm running for the Democrat mayor, and I'm 67 years old. I've been married to my wife, Pat, for 42 years. I'm a lifelong resident of Fayette County. We have 3 children and 5 grandchildren. I graduated from Connersville High School. I work at the Connersville Utilities for 32 years. I graduated from, I went to Ball State. I didn't graduate, but I did go to Ball State. I went into the Air Force, came out as a sergeant. I went into the Army, came out as a Specialist 4. I've coached baseball and basketball for 45 years now. I'm in my 8th season at the middle school. So I'm really proud to be in the youth like that. I also coached at the boys club, girls before it went out, and right now I'm coaching at the middle school and the 7th grade girls basketball team. And thank you.
Brian.
I'm Brian Dobb. I'm a Republican candidate for mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here tonight. This is a good thing happening. I'd like for you to be able to ask the questions. I want us to be able to answer them honestly as well. I appreciate the candidates coming up and showing their support as well. There's several things that I want to do. There's 3 main goals that I want to have for Connersville. One is I want to bring jobs to town. It's what I do. I'm a businessman. I can bring jobs to town. There's only one thing that I'm going to promise, that I would do 110% of my efforts to make this Connersville more of what we remember what it used to be. It worries me because the poverty level has increased. It's doubled in the last 4 years. We're at 11.7% poverty rate. I can help that. Another thing we have to look at is the drugs. There's plans that I have for the drugs in this town. There's ways that I can change that. I want to work with revitalizing the town. I remember when I was younger that the neighbors helped each other, that people stood for each other. I want to bring that back into Connersville. I don't think I can. I know I can, but this is a team effort. I need everybody in this room and everybody in this community. I need their help. We need to get active, and we need to get active now. We do not have 4 more years. I want you to be a member of my team, and I'd appreciate your vote come November 3rd. Thank you.
Well, hi, I am Holly Dunn, and I'm your independent candidate, and I'm excited to be here tonight, and like Brian, I'd like to say thank you to the News Examiner and to Channel 3 and to all of you, because without you, our community would fail to thrive, and so you are the committed people of Connersville, so thank you for being here tonight. And I'd like to start with saying why I'm here, because lots of people ask that question. In 2005, I graduated with 2 degrees from Indiana University East. And at that time, I had kind of had my mind set on going into a PsyD program and becoming basically a therapist. And I had a professor who looked at me and said, Holly, no, there's more for you. There's more for you. And it took a little bit of time to believe it. He handed me a brochure to the University of Denver, to the International Intercultural Communication Program. And it had a list of focus, and one of them was policy and PR. And the bottom of the brochure, I can still see it. It says, you've traveled and traversed barriers and boundaries, and you want to make a difference in the world, now what? And I remember reading that, and I put it, actually I filed it away. And about a month later, I pulled it out and I said, I gotta go on. I gotta do something different, because you guys matter. My mom and dad mattered. My mom passed away, my dad's here tonight, and I knew that if I wanted our world to be different, then I needed to do something different. And so I went on to grad school at the University of Denver and studied policy and PR. When I finished, I came back to Connersville, and even before I moved back here, I had gotten involved in back to school rallies and supporting our youth. So today, why am I standing here? I believe that if we want our community to be different, we're gonna have to work together, and that's what I bring to the table. If you look around the room, you'll see people that we've started this from nothing. Independent candidates don't happen very often, but I know that together we can see Connersville changed. Thank you.
Okay, this question will start with Brian now. City Council heard the proposed city budget on first reading Monday night. The budget has been available for examination since then. It is public information. And we did have some information on the budget in the News Examiner Sunday. What are your thoughts on the budget? Does it need to be see additional cuts, or does it need some additional spending? Right.
Definitely not additional spending. There's smart ways of going about it. In business, you have smart buying practices. We don't have any smart buying practices now. If the city employees, they have an open checkbook where they can go wherever they want to. That's one way we can cut it back, because we can use it to where with smart buying practices we bring, or even hire an entity within that actually could save us 10%. $13 million budget. If my goal would be able to save 10% of that budget. $1.3 million helps bring businesses into town. It helps put work back into our roads again. But definitely not additional spending, and I'm not for any new taxes at all.
Holly.
All right. One thing I know about the budget is it's $1 million less than it was 8 years ago. Just shortly, a little bit less than $1 million, but close to $1 million. And if we don't do some things to change, as our population has changed, we're going to be in trouble, more so than we already have been. As a person that looks at this budget, I think that we are as lean as we can be when it comes to our emergency services. As far as being smarter and looking for alternative solutions to our spending, I agree with Brian that is an option. Now, with that, I would say that we need to look at what else we can do to bring in some additional revenue. I think that it would be good if our EMS could be medical transport. I think that would be one way of adding some revenue because that is a way for one of our services to bring in some money. I also think that as a community, we're going to have to really rally around additional grants and options and look at what we can do to involve you. Because right now we have one city grant writer. At one point we had two. And look at what we could do if all the retired teachers and all the retired policemen and firemen, EMS, if they wanted to engage in writing some grants. I don't necessarily believe that that's what's going to save us. I think that we are going to have to be very conscientious and move forward with great caution. I respect that this mayor and this council have moved forward without laying off city employees. I respect that out of them, and I know that we're going to have to follow their lead in being conscientious about how we spend and how we look at overtime and some of those coverages. We're going to have to move forward with caution. I think it is a budget that's workable, though.
Okay, I do too. I think that the budget's workable, but you got to remember one thing. Budgets are cash. Even though you got a $13 million budget, okay, that doesn't mean that you're going to collect that much money in taxes. Because if you only collect $10 million in taxes, your budget is $10 million. You can't spend 13. So we have to be very careful with this, and I think what's going on right now, what the mayor has put on, I think we need to continue that, because we've got to know how much money is going to be coming in next year, because that is a big part of it. And so right now, I agree that it's workable, and but it could be worse if the money doesn't come in. If people don't pay their taxes and stuff like that, we're not going to have cash. And the cash is what you could have. You could have $200 to buy something, but if you only got $50 in your pocket, you can't buy that $200 project. So that's how I feel, okay? Thank you.
Any rebuttal? Rebuttal.
In what Holly was saying on medical transport, we have to be able to look, that's a lot of that is Medicaid. Medicaid pays what they want to pay. We got to watch to be able to make sure that we're not sending our ambulances out of town for medical transport. If we do that, Medicaid will only pay $250, let's say, or whatever the rate is. That costs more with time and material, labor, and wear and tear on our trucks. I'm not disagreeing with it, but it's an option we need to look at, but I'd have to see that more than likely that wouldn't be feasible. Grants we have to look at as well, because grants most generally is the community or the city has to be able to put in a certain contributing match. We have to look at 50% match on a lot of the grants. We have to be able to make sure that the grants we write are smart grants. We also have to look at the contracts we've signed with the businesses and the abatements we've signed. Short example, Wayzata received a $3,000 stormwater runoff abatement. They also charged SAPA $10,000 a month. Perfect timing. Is that a ding? Is that a ding? I got 15 seconds left.
I'll finish up.
I would just add that as far as like looking at medical transport as an option to bring in revenue, we of course got to do a cost budget analysis. Of course, that's something we got to look at. And I think that when we look at ideas, we got to think outside the box. And traditionally, that may be not something that we've considered, but it doesn't mean it's a bad option for us.
Well, I'll agree with that. $10,000, that was for what Wayzata has to pay. No, I take that back. SAPA has to pay $10,000 to Wayzata to store their stuff over there. You know, and that's another thing we talked about. We got to look at start buying land. The city does, like we did down there on the south end of town, because SAPA's wanting to move and people's wanting $25,000 an acre to build their new factories and stuff. We got to start buying land so the city can have some control over this. Because if we own the land, we could sell them. We could either give it to them or sell them at a fraction of what the companies are wanting. And so we got to look at that also.
Okay. Well, let's move on. I'm sure that some of those other things will come up. If we kind of hold our applause, we might get through this a little faster tonight. I know they're good answers, but you know, I'd like to go home at some point. So do we have any questions? I thought, anybody with questions, go to the podium, please. Remember, ask the question in 30 seconds.
Okay. My name's Bruce York, and my question is, what is your experience negotiating contracts with unions? Or if none, what have you done as any significant negotiation?
And I believe it's Holly.
Yeah, that is me. I appreciate that question. I think that I will first say that I have not negotiated contracts with a union. However, I have negotiated contracts with a university setting. So at the University of Denver, I hired faculty and had to work in their contracts. Now, at the same time, I will probably look at union contracts differently than some, because I believe a strong-armed approach only equals resistance. So when it comes to negotiating contracts, my approach will be this: I will know the people that we're talking to. I want to know both sides, and I want them to know that we can hear, that they are heard. Now, with that, I believe that when people feel like they're heard, they're willing to make concessions on both parts. And so as far as my personal experience with contracts at a city level, I have not. I would ask that you would hear me when I say that I'm not afraid of going into a contract negotiation. At 19, I went to the Philippines and stood in a room with a machine gun pointed in the room, and I wasn't afraid.
Harold.
Okay, first of all, when you negotiate contracts, that's money, and that's not the mayor's job to do that. If I'm elected to mayor, what I'm going to do is I'm going to appoint 3 council members. They control the money. They're the ones that's got to deal with the money, so I'm going to appoint 3 council members to negotiate the contract. The clerk treasurer and I, that we will be what they call ex officio members, and we'll sit back because we're going to have nothing to do but with the language. Now, the clerk treasurer, she'll handle the money part, but the council's the one that passes this. So they're the ones that have to negotiate it, because the mayor can go in and negotiate a contract, and once he steps out of there, if the council denies it, you've wasted your time. So the thing is, you need 3 council members on there to do that, and then, like I said, the clerk treasurer and the mayor, then we will support whatever the 3 council members decide, and hopefully, when it goes before passage, the council will pass it and the mayor will sign it.
Right.
I have negotiated contracts. At Indiana Box Makers, I was the junior steward, union steward. I also dealt with contracts when I was at Visteon. I was a supervisor up there, and I dealt with the union. As a business owner, I own a mechanical install company, and when we did work at Dresser, the number one sign-off was the union had to sign off on that before I set any contractors in there at all. If they did not sign off on it, to say that they weren't allowing it, we didn't send a contractor in there, or didn't send any of my people in there. I also had 3 people that were hired directly from Dresser because of the work that we did through them. I disagree with Harold. I feel that the mayor does run the contracts. He is the CEO of the company. I also feel in one way, I do agree that I think that there ought to be a representative from the city council, and there ought to be a representative from the Board of Works, because those 2 entities have to be able to sign off on it as well. But the CEO of any company is the main one that structures the contracts and works with the unions. Transparency is a lot. If we have to open up the books to be able to show them this is not what we can give you, what you're wanting, there's only so much we can give. I'm not saying give the farm away. It's time that we actually work with the unions and work with the contracts and honor the contracts.
Any rebuttals? Holly, you would have first option.
Sure. I would say that when we look at these contracts, it is, you elect a city council on purpose. You are, I think this is dropping. You elect a city council. You have been wise enough to make those choices. And so I would tend to agree with Harold that this is a joint effort. This isn't a one-person job. It is the city as a whole. And I do believe that we have to go in with eyes wide open, and the more relationship that we've cultivated with our city employees, the better they will negotiate.
Yes, well, I just agree with Brian, because the council handles the money, okay? The mayor can't give him any money. The mayor can't do it. The mayor can sit there and he can't take money. He can't do that either. All he can do is do the language. How many people is going to be able to go on vacation at a time? How many sick days they're going to get? The mayor, that's what he controls, is the language of the contract. Anything that has to do money has to come from the city council.
City clerk handles the money. The mayor makes sure that everything's reported right. So I can understand that Harold and I could go back and forth on this, but I do agree that the CEO of the company or the city is the one that handles the contracts. In my business also, I've dealt with the Indiana State National Guard, or the National Guard. I've dealt with the NDOT. I know a contract could run 56 to 124 pages. I do it all the time.
Do we have any more questions from the audience?
I have one. Thank you. I'm Rachel Weissite, the Democratic candidate for City Clerk Treasurer, and my question is, and it's been asked of me, at the last City Council meeting, it was indicated that our budget was almost $1 million less than it was 8 years ago. 8 years ago, we weren't in a city financial emergency, and so my question would be, do you plan to lift the financial emergency if our budget is almost $1 million less than it was 8 years ago, when it wasn't?
Harold.
I would have to leave the financial emergency in place, because I just believe right now at this time that you don't know what monies are coming in. And like I said, at $1 million, they cut it $1 million less. So we need to be careful on what we do to start. So I would leave the financial emergency on for now. And then in a few months after we take office, me and the clerk treasurer will sit down, bring in the department heads and discuss all the contracts and discuss where we're at on this. But right now, I think we have to leave it alone.
Brian.
The city council, all of them voted unanimously to leave the financial crisis alone, to leave it in place. I agree. I would not go back against the city council, especially with a 7-0 vote. That is not something the CEO of a company or city wants to do, is to go against his constituents. So no, yes, I would leave it in place.
Okay, and Holly.
The short answer is yes. I mean, it's just, we have to be wise, and I believe, especially in the first few months of this transition, it's wise to not make immediate changes, especially when you're looking at the budget that's been so tight.
Okay. We got another question?
Hold on. Okay, the council does not issue a financial emergency. That is only done by the mayor. Now, the council may agree with it, but the mayor and his board of works issued the financial emergency, and then the council went along with them. So that's what, there it is, okay?
Any more rebuttals?
Okay, the city council speaks for the residents of Connersville. If the city council votes to be able to keep it in place, then I agree with them because they speak for the people in their district.
Holly?
Hey, I would agree with Brian. That we need to be surrounded with wise counsel. And again, they have been selected by you. And therefore, I think having their input on a decision of that magnitude, again, is just wise.
But it wasn't done, Holly, by the council. It was done by the mayor, and that's part of being the CEO of the company. He had to make a decision, and he made the decision, and he made the right decision. So that's where you got to let it. The council approved it because it's working.
Anybody else? Okay.
My name is Vivian Heimlich. I live on a farm in Bentonville, in the Northwest Territories of Fayette County. And I was in a discussion with a very good friend of mine who has a lot of knowledge about county council workings, and we were talking about the Connersville budget, and again being cut by over $1 million by our mayor. And we were discussing possibilities of, since the revenue may not be there in the short term, what expenses could be reduced in the long term. And what we talked about was possibly a Unigov, maybe the county and the city sharing resources like the streets and other sharing of costs. Have any of you three candidates discussed or have any thoughts on sharing expenses with the county to help preserve the budget in the city?
Brian?
I'm hearing, this isn't official, so I don't know, I'm going off some numbers that were told to me, but the county is actually into about a $450,000 shortfall of their budget. We reduced ours $1 million. As for a Unigov, that has to be voted on by the Indiana State Legislature. It's nothing that the Connersville or the county can do on its own. Now, Vivian, I do agree that a Unigov would probably end up saving us a couple $1 million a year. I am in support of county and city working together. I do feel that maybe we could share, we already do share trucks. Maybe we could share other equipment. The city could buy some and the county could put in a portion of it. I'm not saying so much on the assessor's office or the clerk's office or anything like that. I don't know if those two entities could be combined, but there is other entities that we should look forward to of combining or working together in cooperation with.
Holly?
Vivian, that's a great question. I actually get asked that one probably as much as anything else in this whole process. I would say that before we get to the point where Unigov is an option for us, we're going to have to really play together well. It is my hope that I would be able to be more involved in the county, because it is, while I am or will be, speaking very positively, the mayor, I would want to know about the county residents as well. I've said this through the whole process. Whenever I meet someone, that I would be your mayor too. And so, with that said, I don't believe we're ready for Unigov. I've been really involved in the drug situation, and I can tell you from my friends who work collaboratively with the state and with the county, that has made them stronger. And I think if you ask any one of them, they would all say that working together has made them stronger. And I think as a community, the more we practice that, the more we might be prepared for that in the future. At this moment, I don't know that we're there.
Harold?
Okay, a few years ago when I was on the council, we talked about Unigov. I can't remember how many years ago, but that maybe 15 or so. And the problem I run into is nobody's wanting to give up their power. When you start going to Unigov, now you start, the mayor's got to give up power, the commissioner's got to give up power, the council's got to give up power, your board of works has got to give up power, and there's a power struggle there. So until you get the right people in that want to work together and do something like this, it would work. But at this point in time, like I said, we've tried it several times. when I was on the council. And because I remember we was talking about building a county city building. The first problem we got into, we was going to spend $3 million. This is before we bought the building there on East 5th Street. We were going to build a brand new building over there in the parking lot. Well, we started designing the building, and the first thing we got was, well, I got to be on the first floor. You got to be on the second floor. Who's going to pay the water bill? Who's going to pay the gas bill? And I said, hey, we're going to buy the other building. That's what we did. So you got to get the right people in there before you can get stuff done like that. Okay.
Ryan, anybody?
15 years ago, we had Vistion pumping in millions of dollars into the community. It's a whole different ballgame now. We don't have big businesses throwing in money towards the city. I can understand 15 years ago because there was two different entities. There was a lot of bridge between those two. Right now, I feel that we need to bridge those gaps. We actually even need to start working with the school corporation because all three entities in this community can work together, and we need one person like me that can bridge those gaps and put everybody together.
Holly?
I think we've said it. I think it takes time, and it will take building relationships. And I think that is something that I will bring to the table.
Well, I agree. It's going to take the right people, and it's going to take, and I think I've got the personality to create a good atmosphere with people. And as a matter of fact, I think I got the best. But anyway, that's what it'll have to be worked on, and it's going to take the county have good people, city have good people to work this out.
Okay, do we have any more questions?
Behind you there.
Since our youth is a long-term investment of the city, what are you planning to do to keep them off drugs and out of trouble? And any plans to help the current drug problem and to rehabilitate the ones that are currently using and incarcerated?
Holly?
Thank you for that question. I'm just going to tell you that one of the things that we're going to have to do is start younger. Right now, 33% of seventh graders have someone in jail. And based on that, I think when you take it to the next level of asking why are those people in jail, a large percentage of them are there because of drugs. So if we want our community to be different, we're going to have to teach those babies different. And so that's going to mean us getting proactive and really focusing on educating them younger and younger. And I know that's hard. It's uncomfortable and it's difficult. But we will have to rise up as a community. As a community, we're going to have to come together and mentor and get around developing Boys and Girls Club. We're going to have to provide opportunities that's an alternative ed for our students that at the school that aren't able to achieve the level that is expected. And as a whole, when it comes to the drug problem, I think that we have to look at what do we do first to help our current, people struggling currently to detox. How do we get them in a situation where they can detox? And then we have to get support for the House of Ruth and the House of David and One Cent Ministry. We have to really be involved in that and look for other options as well. Now, I'm going to pause for just a second and say that I am tired of being reactive. And so when I say that, I know that there's industry in those fields and people who are looking to develop job options in Connersville. With HIP 2.0, you could potentially start a for-profit house and offer support to people who want to detox. And those funds are available because as a state, we're lacking in that area. I, as mayor, would go after the younger portion of it as well. I think that we have to start talking about it younger and use curriculum that we know is successful. For example, Guiding Good Choices. Guiding Good Choices has been proven as a data-driven program that equips parents to have difficult discussions with their youth. And so I think we have to be very proactive while also supporting the people in our community who are struggling with addiction. They are people and they matter. And they're a significant portion of us, so we can't ignore them. They're not going to go away, and we have to help them to know that this is a place where we can help them get well.
Okay, well, the main thing to do this, to get off people off, we have to get jobs in here. Somehow we have to get them. I mean, I don't have all the answers, but when we start working with EDG, because what it is. People don't have jobs. They'll steal, and their drug program will go on. Just like the House of David and the House of Ruth, we need to put our money where our mouth is, because I was talking to a guy the other day, and he does a lot of help, and he says, why don't the city dump some money into these places? We need to put some money in. We can sit back here and tell what we're going to do, but until we put our money where our mouth is, we're not going to do a thing. You need money. The task force needs money. The police force needs money. They got to fight these people. They need the money to do it. So we have to find the money to where we can help these people, to get these kids and then get them some help. You know, we have to get them some help, but it takes money, and so we got to find a way to get it for them.
I feel that drugs is a result of depression. Depression leads because you don't have any money in your pocket. We need jobs here. I am already working on bringing jobs here. Another thing we have to look at is when I raised my girls. I told my girls, I said, if you bring a problem to me, I'll work with you on it. If a problem gets brought to me from another source, then I'm going to handle it my own way. How I'd handle it my own way right now is I want to work with the outlying cities. The problem is we bring the drug abusers, they go through a rehab program, and then they're out, and as soon as they're out, then other people are right on top of them because that's their source of income. For one, you cut the head off the snake. If I have to stand out on State Road 1, 44, and any other county road to be able to make sure with the drug dog and the drug task force to search every single vehicle, I'll cut the head off the snake, and then I'll go out to other communities and I'll work with them and tell them that we need us to be able to send our drug users and addicts to them. You send them to ours. Let's secure our older schools that we're not using. Let's work with the school corporation. We have 3 right now that are open. Other communities have the same. I'll send somebody to you, you send somebody to me, I'll watch your and you watch mine. It's the same thing neighbors do right now. You watch my back and I'll watch yours, because I'm already watching your back and I've already got a plan for it and it's already in motion. And I'm hoping that I can continue on with that motion.
And now time for rebuttal.
All right. One thing I will say is if we want money, then we're going to have to be smart. And so part of being smart is using programs that are data-driven. If we want grant dollars, we have to be able to show data that we're using programs that have been proven to be successful. When we start using data-driven programs, then there are funds available to us. So that's one thing. 2, as far as jobs are concerned, I know we need jobs. However, in order for people to work, they have to be ready. And so with that said, I can't stand before you and claim to know every person who's ever struggled with addiction, but what I can say is for the last 6 years, I've been involved with people who are struggling with addiction. I know who they are. They're everyday people, and we have to support them so that they are ready to work when those options and when those doors open.
Harold?
I'm okay. I agree with both of them. I'm all right.
Oh, wait a second. I get a chance.
Yeah, you have.
Okay. I'm
I
keeping
told
track.
you to keep
I'm
me
keeping
honest.
track of you. Okay. One of the problems happened is we lost our morals a long time ago because our mothers and our fathers had to go to work outside of the community, and it left children home alone. That's when the children were not old enough to be able to make decisions on themselves. That's where drugs started. I've seen it all over the place. I've seen it all throughout my life. If we can bring jobs in, and we can, and we put people back to work in town, they don't have to drive an hour to Greensburg or back. They don't lose that hour time of family time. The people start working with their children. The neighbors start helping out, start watching. We form groups, support groups. We watch our backs, like I said before.
Okay. We have another question?
Hello, my name's Amy Lutz. I think our town is beautiful, and we have a lot of tourism and people coming in, but personally I'm embarrassed because there are so many homes and houses that have things on their porches, big appliances, things like that. I know, especially, I live up in Offense Park, Park, which is not a very nice neighborhood, I know, but there was a couch that sat across the street from my house. The people moved. It sat there for 5 weeks. Nobody did anything about it. The trash people didn't report it or anything. So my question is, what can we do, or what will you do to clean up Connorsville? I know we have Big Trash Day, but it doesn't always work. So we need to make some of these people clean up their properties, because it's embarrassing when we have tourism, all this tourism that brings us money. So what will you do about cleaning up Connorsville? Thank you.
And that's you, Harold.
Okay, well, the first thing we got to do, in my opinion, too, is clean up the city. Our curbs and sidewalks are in disrepair. We need to, if we're going to start making somebody clean up their places, we need to clean up ours, and we haven't done that. And so, but then I also thought about there was a house on, I believe it was 21st and Indiana. This guy really built his home nice. It took him, I don't know how many years to do it, but he finally got it completed. It's nice out there on that street. We need to encourage people to do that. There was a program that we've been thinking about, I've been discussing with some people. It's called a 5-star program. When you do your home like that, we will issue a 5-star for that house. And then as the neighborhood improves their homes, we can issue what they call a 5-star neighborhood, okay? And we can do something like they did out, maybe we could do something like they did out in Tarkington Heights, out there where Major Drive out in there, they offer tax abatements on those homes. So maybe we can say to people, it has to be a new construction there, but maybe we could offer tax abatements to people that you improve your home, we can lower your taxes with tax abatements. And so we can do stuff like that. But we have to clean up, to me, we have to clean up our own streets first, get our sidewalks repaired, get our curbs fixed, and then we can go after the rest of that stuff. But I believe it can be done while you're doing all that.
Brian.
For one, I'm a hands-on approach guy. If somebody has a couch that's been sitting out there for 5 weeks, the way I look at it is I'm to blame because my department didn't go out there and pick it up. If I have to get in my truck to be able to go pick it up, that's exactly what I'll do. And then I'm going to go to the department head and I'm going to ask him why. And then I'm going to ask the department head, why can we spend $6,000 and you bring it to the transfer station and it costs $9,000 and I'm not sure on figures. If we're only $3,000 or $4,000 difference, let's go out and pick it up. We didn't have this problem when the city went out and picked it up. If we're looking at $15,000 to put new carpet in here, to me, honestly, I'd rather see Connorsville revitalized a little bit more than actually putting carpet in the Miller Building. Use the revenue from the building itself to be able to put carpet in here. I have that problem. I looked across the street for several years. There was a wore-down, dilapidated building. I was fortunate enough to buy it. I've put 2 people to work that was missionaries from Mexico. They came back with no jobs. They had the skills to be able to do it, and I put them to work, and I wish they were here tonight because I'd have them stand up. They've done a great job. I've turned around and brought up the property values in that neighborhood because of that building alone. I want to work with tourism. I want to work with the railroad. I want to work with every entity we have. Again, it's all working together. Everybody has their own goals. We need to be on the same goal. We all have to work together to bring stuff into Connorsville. We put a billboard up on I-70, and it says something about the railroad. Why don't we all pitch in and bring it together? Why don't we work with other communities? We have a beautiful lake. We have the railroad that takes the people to the Metamora. You know, why don't we actually work with Liberty and Union County, Franklin County, Rush County, and let's get a coalition going to bring it in. You know, if people go to Rushville, they're going to come to Connorsville. Some other people offer more than what we do, but it's all about working together.
All right, I'm excited about this question because I believe that we have an army out there at that high school that's just ready to be activated. As a community, I know that over the last 5 years or so, I've traveled a lot of service organizations, talking about the youth nonprofit that I helped to start and run. I know that when we work together, when those adults will say, hey, we're going to take on this neighborhood this weekend, that we have a lot of students out there at that high school that are ready to do community service hours, and they need them for graduation. They need them for their certifications that they're receiving from National Honor Society, French Honor Society, JAG. So we have a workforce that is willing to work for free. I think we need adults that are willing to help oversee them. This weekend, SAD, Students Against Destructive Decisions, not Holly Dunn, but SAD, Students Against Destructive Decisions, will plant 10,000 tulips, 1,000 of them in this park, and another 9,000 down the street. That's not going to happen by myself. That's Boys and Girls Club. That's the Master Gardeners. I could go on. That's a lot of people working together to get something accomplished. When it comes to neighborhoods, I agree with Harold. We have to look at ways to develop pride, and I don't know if that's like an award for city cleanup and seeing whose street looks the best. I think we need to be able to cultivate pride in each citizen of our city and help them to know that it can be better. It can be better when we work together. As far as the carpet, I'll go ahead and say a little rebuttal about it real quick. Each of the city buildings, when you rent this space, the money that comes in from renting it stays within that building. So if you rent the Roberts Building, all the money of rent from the Roberts Building stays within the Roberts Building. All the money that when you rent the pavilion, it stays in the pavilion. That's why the tennis courts look like they do. And that's why there's probably money for carpet.
Okay, when I was on the council, we did what they call a citywide pickup. But what happened was there was a house on Ohio Avenue, and the lot's like 40 feet wide, okay, maybe 8 feet to the curb. Well, the trash was stacked up clear to the curb, 8 foot tall, and clear as wide as the property. Well, the truck had to come in there. It took him almost like 2 hours with a payloader and everything to unload that. So, we had people bringing in things, and we have to be able to control that. So one way they was controlling it is if you took it to the transfer station, they would take it. To me, that's a proper way to do it, because we were spending money on things that we were cleaning up. Somebody out in the county or somewhere else brought their stuff in and set along the curb. So that was one, and that increased your cost. And so that's one reason they stopped it.
Brian?
One thing I was read in the paper is the county's getting ready to, or looking at the possibility of making an ordinance or making it stricter for the landlords. They're the ones that make the money. A lot of those people that don't have the resources to be able to take the trash. I recently had a neighbor. She didn't have the resources to be able to take the trash away from her, so I offered to be able to do it. The elderly. There's a lady who lives across the street from me. Doesn't have the resources to be able to take the trash down to the transfer station. I'll do it for her. I would think that we need to adopt a city ordinance. Also, I'm going to put Joey Laughlin on the spot since he's back there, but I'll tell you what, I read a lot about Joe Arpaio, the sheriff out in Arizona. Why do we have our inmates in the jail and they're not doing anything? They need to be out on the street, and they need to be working, and they need to be able to clean up the street. I'm a strong believer in that. And I get 5 seconds for the applause, okay? So, Joey, I will work with you on that. I want that to happen. There's ways to happen. If they can happen out in Arizona, by gosh, it could happen here in Connersville, Indiana, too.
Holly?
A rebuttal to that. I would say that we have to be real conscientious. I agree that we do have some workforce behind the jail. Matter of fact, Community Corrections, they do come in and clean my nonprofit. They do go in and work for the Hope Center. They helped to sort tulips into bags of bundles. So we do use our community outreach program there, and I appreciate that. I know that there are lots of concerns about some of our inmates being free and having access to needles that they find alongside the road. So we have to be real conscientious of that. And then as far as city beautification, I think when we come together as a community, we do things like asking our neighbor if I can take your couch to the dump. And so again, it comes back to us. If we want our neighborhoods to be beautiful, we may have to know our neighbors.
Okay. You up, Gary?
My name is Gary D. Woolery. Question for the candidates. The mayor supervises about 100 employees. So for all three candidates, what is your experience in supervising employees?
Brian, your turn.
Several years of experience. I was a supervisor at Visteon. I had 25 employees underneath of me. In my own personal company, I've had every bit of 17 employees underneath of me. When I managed the Fastenal store in Newcastle for 10 years, I had 20 plus employees. Now I got to look at all these employees have excelled. They've went on to be able to start their own businesses. They've went on to be able to do great things. There's only 2 of them that I know of that I'm going to call mediocres. The rest of them have went on to great things. They stay in contact with me. It's because we work as a team. There's no I in team. We've got to be able to make sure that the employees want to step up to the plate. We've got to be able to make sure that we hold the people accountable. I feel, again, like I said, the mayor is the CEO of the company, the city. We have supervisors, which are the department heads. We have the facilities, which are our departments itself. And we've also got the shareholders, which is everybody sitting in this room and everybody that lives in this county or city. And you tell me when was the last time you felt you got the return on investment, because a shareholder wants the return on investment. I want my return on investment. Do you? I can make that happen.
Holly.
All right. I started working at 12 years old. My dad's in the room. I babysat 7 foster kids. And then as soon as I was actually 16 and old enough, I went to work for Subway. At 16, I had a pager and was a shift manager and actually had access to all the emergency codes and whatnot. Since that time, I have worked every job I've ever worked at. I've worked my way up. And it's not comfortable for me to say, hey, I'm the best thing ever. It's not. But what I can say is everywhere I've ever worked, I've been awarded Employee of the Year for the most part. Everywhere I've ever worked, they've offered me a job back when I moved on. So I've had calls from all the places I've ever worked. You could ask any one of them. So as far as supervisory roles go, I managed Subway. I went on and I managed Jenny Craig. I was a trainer and covered a region actually. And as far as currently, I leave town with 100 teenagers, and I haven't lost one yet.
Harold.
Well, the first thing, the CEO doesn't tell the employees what to do. That's what your department head's for. I have never seen a mayor fix a street. I have never seen a mayor repair a water line. I have never seen a mayor fix anything in the city besides the employees. You need to hire good department heads. If he can't get it done, you get rid of the department heads. But I really believe if you treat the employees with some respect and say thank you once in a while, the employees will go beyond their duty and give you the best job they can. And a lot of times that don't happen because the council don't fix anything. It seems like sometimes all the mayor and the council does is a thorn in the employee's side because they're out there trying to do their job. They're the only 40-hour-a-week guy here. We're all part-time. We're in 4 years, we're gone. And then what happens? We want to seem like we try and make their job the hardest there is. The hardest that we want to make it for them. And to me, the mayor, he's the CEO. He hires good department heads. The department heads go out and work with the employees. Now, I'm not saying the mayor can't go out and look at it and all that, but as far as telling them what to do, you need to pick up a shovel, you need to pick up this, that is not his job. That's his department heads because he's got other things. You talk about EDG, you want to work with EDG, you want to work with all other departments. You've got like the county and everything. You can't be out on the street patrolling, telling these people what to do. That is your department heads.
Brian, time for rebuttal.
Just to make sure I was clear to where nobody misunderstood me, I am not going to sit there and try to be able to be the role of an employee. The mayor is the CEO of the city. He does not tell the employees what to do. He tells the department head what to do, and he holds that department head accountable. There's checks and balances in every way. But I'll tell you one thing. When we had the water main break and we weren't able to be able to shut off the water for 8 hours, when we almost lost the pattern shop where the new pattern mill housing is going to go, where do you think I'm going to be at? I'm going to be standing there for support. If they need something, somebody needs to go get something, I'll go get it. If they need to be able to ask a question and need somebody and need an answer right there, I'll be the one that's sitting there and to be able to authorize that question. I will not be at home in bed. I'll be there helping them. We had the fire downtown. I'll be standing right there at the control station. I'll be helping the fire chief. I'll be working with the police department. I'll be standing for support. There's a time you lead and there's a time you stand beside.
It was said that a leader is someone that serves. And I will say that when you look at my leadership style, you'll find someone that serves. It's been my desire since as far back as I can remember to get my hands in and get dirty. Now, at the same time, I know that I am only as strong as my weakest link. So when it comes to choosing department heads, we have to be wise. We have to choose with good counsel. It's not an individual decision or a party decision. And I know that if we want to see real change, we're going to have to get our hands dirty and get involved. And that includes the mayor. Perhaps doing things that a mayor hasn't traditionally done.
Harold.
Okay, there's a difference. There's a difference with the mayor going out in emergency type situations. I remember when we had the flood over on the east side, the council and the mayor was over there. They was doing bags over there. But I'm talking about everyday operations. No mayor should be in there telling his department head or the employees what they're doing. That is not the mayor's job. And he don't know anything. And I'll tell you, if I was out there and someone come out and told me to how to put a repair clamp on, and I'll put it on your way and it doesn't work, don't blame me, because it's not your job. Those people that are working out there, they know what to do. You don't have to stand there and give them this. You don't have to tell them that. The employees I know in the city know their jobs. They know their jobs. We just don't give them an opportunity to do them.
Thank you. Another question? I guess not, so we'll. Oh, here we go.
I'm Linda Fitzgerald, and the person who can answer this question in 3 minutes gets my vote.
Okay.
Given an understanding of the importance of economic development in the revitalization of Fayette County, what is your short and long-range strategic economic development plan?
Holly.
All right, Linda, I'm so excited that I get to be first in this one. One is we're going to have to really develop an economic council. I know that the economic development group is wonderful, and Dan Parker's doing his part. I think as a mayor, we have to develop a council with the small businesses that are in existence already in Connersville. And through that council, we have to find out how can we strengthen each other and develop a list of what our community needs to grow. For example, we outsource all paint parts. So now we have that list. We work towards developing an economic incubator or a business incubator in partnership with Ivy Tech. I would love to see that because they're struggling. And then we find 2 or 3 people in our community who wants to develop a business, and we know right away what lists of jobs are available there. I will say, as a country, 50% of all jobs are small business. As a county, the jobs that have been successful have been homegrown. So we have to support our homegrown industry here, and we have to develop and cultivate new ideas and help our graduates know that they can come back and have support to start something new here. At the same time, we collaborate with economic development, and we still look for the big pie in the sky. I don't think that's what's going to save us, but we still have to continue to look for outside industries to come in, supporting our local business as well.
Okay, to me, we still have to work with EDG because they're the ones that's got the contacts. They're the ones that's got the money. They're the one able to get the resources. But 2, I do agree, the small businesses is a place to go. You know, a few years ago, we give Stance $1 million, okay, to keep them here. And I mean, it was well worth it because they're hiring more people. But why, again, let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's say a small business wants to start up. Why can't we dump $5,000, $10,000 on them? Let them get another machine they have to buy, or give them bigger tax abatements, extend their tax abatements. Why can't we do things like that? We can. And I just feel that right now with the Economic Development Group, they're doing what they can. If they could have jobs in here, they'd have them here. Because I know Dan Parker works very hard at it. And, and I just believe, but the small businesses, you're right. Those are the ones, because there's a lot of them around. There's a lot of machine shops around town. And we need to help them people. And the best thing I can do is, let's put our money where our mouth is and help them.
Brian.
Linda, I'm already doing a short term. I'm already doing short term right now. Every business that I go to, and I've got 3,200 contacts throughout the multi-state area, I produce or introduce subcontractors from Connersville. I think one thing on a short-term thing is, first of all, we need to be able to make sure the chamber retains our employees retains our businesses. We also need to be able to go to our businesses and see what we can do to be able to help them grow. Short-term is what we have here now and what we can actually do to be able to help them. We have a city-county contract problem with the Railcon building that SAPA can't improve. They do have land across the street, but it is expensive. We need to be able to make sure that we go to the big businesses and find out what we can do to be able to help them grow. They could bring in 250 jobs. He has a check right now for $5 million that he can buy land with. He's already worked a deal out with Keeners, but we're holding him back because he's not able to expand. Long term, I want to be able to look at the states that have the strict gun laws. Henry County just landed, and it's not published yet, but they're landing a gun manufacturer from New York. We should have contacted them months ago. Soon as we need to be able to find out the laws that are being passed and go after companies like Indiana has done against Illinois already. That's why Indiana is 5th in the nation in job growth, number 1 in the Midwest. We need to build on that. We need to contact the governor's office. We need to make sure that Connersville gets the leads. We need to follow up with the leads. We need to contact the Lake Mead area. We need to find the cash-strapped states that can't offer companies opportunities. We can. We have a $2 billion surplus in Indiana. I know I can work with Governor Pence, and I know I can work with the state legislator. It's a Republican-held state. Right now, the state representatives, state senators, and the senator. Connersville will get leads. We're a depressed area. There's opportunities for us, and I don't feel that we explore them well enough, let's say. We let Boar's Head food go. That should have never happened. We're bringing animal fat in from Sugar Creek. That never should have happened. If they wanted to locate, they should have located here. Honda wanted our water. We were going to build a 36-inch main going to Greensburg and sell them our water. There's one thing that I'm going to make sure that everybody knows. I will not sell our most valuable resource, and that's our water. If somebody wants it, they can locate here and employ us and use our water here. We have resources. We don't explore them enough. We don't promote them enough. We need to send out literatures. I'm a fisherman. The more lines you have in the water, the more bites you're going to get. The best bait you're going to have on the lines is when you're going to catch the fish. If we only have 3 lines in the water, you only expect maybe 1 is going to offer.
Holly? You got a rebuttal coming. No. Holly?
All right, you will remember right away when I first announced my candidacy, I said that we needed to explore industry that had high use and high volume of water use. I mean, it's been an idea, been saying it for a long time, and I think as we get that award again this year with the best water in Indiana, I think that Brian is right. We have to explore every option and look at our assets, look at what we have, and how we're going to meet the needs of our population. At the same time, Linda, so short term, we immediately start a council. Long term, we build a business incubator and jump in and support Dan Parker and his efforts. When it comes to being ready here, when the jobs come, we have to focus on education. And I'm sure that we'll get a moment to ask a question about education, so I'll stop there.
Yeah.
Okay, you read in the paper here a few weeks ago about Connersville having a water bottling plant. I talked to Dan Parker about that, because I said, if we can't get people to come in here and build a bottling plant, why don't we do it ourselves? Why can't we build it ourselves? And of course he investigated it, but I think he talked to the wrong people, because it had in there they wasn't making much money on that. I can't believe that. I go up there at Walmart and Kmart, and, well, not Kmart anymore, but Kroger and all them, and you watch them walk out of there with bottled water. It's amazing that all this water going out of here and we can't make any money at it. I believe we can. And so I'd be willing to look at that. That'd be a long-term one. But I think the EDG, from what I'm hearing, I think the other candidates are telling me that the EDG's not doing their job. Because if they can get more leads than the EDG, they should be the EDG director.
Brian.
I'm not running and I'm not interested in being the EDG director. I plan on working hand in hand with the EDG director. I already have. I've already introduced 3 companies to him that could potentially move to town. I do not agree with the water bottling company. I don't want to get into the liability of it. We saw Niagara Bottling just got hit with a $2 million lawsuit because Ebola was in. Are we going to deal with that? We don't have the insurance rates for that. You take water out of the ground, you're going to bring impurities out of it. No. I'm not interested in having a water bottling company. I am interested in companies that can come here and use our resources, not take them.
Holly, let's have another round of this.
Another round? Okay.
Another round.
All right. I know that bottling companies, because I looked into it myself, they do cost money. However, some cities have bottled water and used it as a marketing tool. And I think that is something that we could do, because we have to exploit what we're known by. And what we're known by is having good water. So I'm not saying an astronomical amount of water, but if there would be a feasible way of developing water, it could be a marketing tool. Along that line, going back to the root of the question, and that is what can we do to prepare for industry? I think we have to educate our people. I think we have to start working. I know that there are some wonderful programs already in existence. I believe that we can maximize those efforts by going to individual industry and saying, what do you need? And then we can start by having students intern there now and have those skills so that they can get that on-the-job training to help them know that when they graduate, they have a place to go.
Harold.
Okay, one of the reasons too that I wanted to bottle water here, because how many people like water increases? Well, if you could take the profits of some of this water bottling company and you can put it towards into the utilities, that would keep our rates down. That would make it more attractive for employers to come here. It'd be easier for heavy water users to come here because your water bills are lower. And that's what we need to do. We need to attract them. But we know if we don't help ourselves, we can't expect someone to come in here and help us out. So we have to start helping ourselves. Like I said, we got to put our money where our mouth is.
Brian.
On the educating our people, I'm going to rebut that a little bit, because I tell you what, I got to look at that everybody in this room is employable. Everybody is. The problem, again, is that we cannot let our people go outside of the city to be able to work. We need to bring them home to work. That's 100% effort. And again, with the bottling company, no, we cannot. If we want to look at utility rates, to be able to lower utility rates, then we don't give Wayzata a $3,000 stormwater runoff. $3,000 a month. You want water utility rates go? Let's get smart with our abatements and let's get smart with our tax reforms. Let's not give to companies unless they're actually needing it. Again, before I got dinged, was somebody's making $10,000. Wayzata's making $10,000 a month off SAPA. But yet we gave them $3,000 a month water runoff? No. Tell you what, let's go back to the drawing board, let's look back at the contract, and let's say if SAPA is paying for that lot that we're giving you an abatement for, kill me.
Next up.
Yes, my name is Kay Payton, lifetime resident of Fayette County. My question to the candidates, what are your thoughts on the value of community, and what would you do to improve this, and what have you done to improve this? And community meaning bringing people together.
Harold.
Well, I guess the first thing you got to do is how do you instill pride in people? How do you instill pride? And that is so hard. That is so hard to do, is to get someone to take pride in themselves. And because once you take pride in yourself, it will be contagious. Other people will come along with it. And I just believe that in the past I have coached baseball. I have seen kids that that they never had a chance, but they know one coach loves them. They know that. It's okay.
Can I pick up and let him come back?
You can come back.
Okay. Community pride is most important. Without pride, okay, we don't have hardly anything. If you want to see pride on October 17th, you come out to my family pumpkin patch. You want to see pride, you'll see it out there, because my family works together, we pray together, and we help communities. I also have pride from my grandpa, Charlie Heck, all the way down to my mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my sister, everybody. We have pride with each other. I'm sorry that other families don't experience what we experience, because it's a wonderful thing. My neighbors know me. The neighbors have called me in the middle of the night. I get home, talk about community pride. I get home last night, my neighbor's trash can got knocked over, and there's trash all the way up and down Grand. 2 kids drove their bicycles, and I was kind of thinking that maybe they did it. While I was picking up their trash, one kid stopped, came back and asked me what happened, and he helped me. And I shook his hand, and I wished I'd have got his name, because I called his mom and dad and told him that I really appreciate that. We need to be able to instill pride back in the community by working with our kids. We need to show them how we were showed. We need to just show them a little bit of love. We need to show them a little bit of respect. You can't get respect unless you give respect. That's how I feel.
Well, it's like I said, I've been working with the youth, and I've seen some youth that if it wasn't for coaches and umpires and field crews and everything, some of these kids, it'd be worse than what it is now. But a lot of these kids, it took an adult to show them, I'm sorry they don't have the parents that I had, like Brian had, like Holly did, but there's kids out there that if you help them, they'll be a good asset to the community, and they'll pass this pride on to their parents. I've always hoped by coaching that you can do something, get the parents to come to the games, get the parents to do this, to show pride in their kids. And if we can get that done, and I think the youth is the way to go, you have to have the youth, because they're the future of Connersville. And so I agree with Holly. Holly, we do have to work with the youth, because they are our pride and joy.
Holly.
I just want to say thank you. This group has been great. I was not looking forward to tonight, and I'm excited about it. It's been good. I'm going to say that currently I have, the question was, what are you currently doing?
What have you done?
What have you done? And so what I would say is, before I ever even moved back here, we were doing back to school rallies and promoting education and helping kids to know that education was the ticket out of poverty. So that's been from the beginning. I started a nonprofit with the help of a lot of great people. I can't even claim that I've done that all by myself, because it's been a group effort. And so we offer Fuel on Friday nights, which is a young adult ministry. We run, I think last week we probably had about 80 kids there. If you go on Facebook, you'll see the group in the crowd. Through the school year, starting again next month, we'll start a mentoring program after school. That was all grassroots. It started on, plus we've offered church for the Care Pavilion, because when you talk about forgotten kids, those are the most forgotten kids. And we've been doing that now, coming up on 6 years. I've been back in Connersville 6 years this month. So I'm just saying that from the time my feet hit the ground, I got involved and surrounded myself with people who cared. And when you surround yourself with people who care, they will love graciously. When people start feeling loved, I agree 100% with you, Harold. They start realizing that their life matters and has purpose, and as a result, they start trying harder. When the more people they have in their life to disappoint, the less likely they are to make disappointing decisions. Peter Benson with Indiana Youth Institute said that the more unpaid adults that students had in their life, the greater their success. So when I worked out at this school, I had a job title. In that job title, it didn't include a food pantry. It didn't include starting a drug support group for teens. It didn't include a mentoring program after school. But when there's a need, you have to rise up. An Og Mandino quote that I only brought 2 quotes with me. Og Mandino says, you always do your best. What you plant now will grow later. Our kids that we invest in now, they will grow
We have to believe in them, even if they don't believe in themselves. There are no throwaway kids. None. There are some kids that act bad, but they aren't bad. Right? Now, with that, if we want our kids to come back to Connersville to live, when they do succeed and they move on, we have to help them feel like they're a part of the solution. We have to include them in the problem solving, and we have to help them to be invested in the community so that when they drive down the road, they know that they had a small piece in that puzzle. So, I'm proof in the pudding. I've said this to a lot of service groups, so you may have heard me. People will live where they feel like they can make a difference. It's a national survey. I'm proof. I live in Connersville. I have a master's degree and two bachelor's degree. I could live anywhere I wanted. I chose here.
Well, again, I agree. That's the reason I love coaching. My wife, she says, I really appreciate her because I've been doing this for 45 years. Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Saturday night games, all this, And so she's going through this as much as I have. But I do. I love my kids. I love them all. And I know there's kids out there that they've gone on because what I have done, what like I said, the other coaches have done. We bring these kids in. We tell them they're good. We do everything we can to build up their egos, because there's a lot of kids that start out playing. Now they all don't go play varsity. They don't go on. But for the first 2 years, being in the 7th and 8th grade, they feel like they're somebody, and they feel like, I had one girl, they tell me they can't make left-hand layups. Well, by the end of the year, they're making left-hand layups, and they can't believe they're doing it.
Brian.
Several years ago, there was a movie that came out called Pay It Forward. It hit close to home, because ever since the day I was born, it's what we've been doing. No disrespect, Miss Dunn, but I've been doing this for 49 years. I've got experience in this. I mean, anybody knows the Hecks and the Goffs. I'm blessed to be able to have them as my family. I'm blessed to have the mother and father I do. I'm blessed to have the sister I do and the children that I do as well. And anybody that knows them knows that they'd give their shirt off their back to be able to help anybody. I've done the teaching. I've done the coaching. Everything that everybody else has been talking about, I've done. I've got experience in it. And it's a lot of it is just standing beside somebody, putting their hand on their shoulder and telling them, I'm with you. Support.
I'm just gonna say a story about a kid. His name is Dante, and he will know who I'm talking about. I met him as a freshman, and what I know about Dante is when you give him an opportunity to serve, he more than rose to the occasion. And through the process of running for mayor, I've met some of the greatest people I've ever known in Connersville. I'm just saying, you're right. It's deeply ingrained. It's why I chose to call this home. But through it, Dante got to put Dante to work in the campaign world. Never thought that the youth of our community could be a part of something political, but Dante is a kid that has worked feverishly. And if you came by my tent at the fair, you would see that. I'm going to tell you that effort, it doesn't come without a price, and that's just being available to answer questions and to support youth. And so Dante is symbolic of what can happen for Connersville.
Next
I saw the finger hover.
Hi, I'm Rachel Johnson. I was a valedictorian of the class of 2014. Can you please elaborate on how you specifically plan to bring jobs to Connersville? And then connected to that, can you specifically explain how you plan to bring college students like myself to work back in Connersville? Thank you.
And Brian, you're up first.
What was the first part of the question again? I was focused on the second part.
How do you plan to specifically bring jobs to Connersville? And then how do you plan to bring college students like myself back to Connersville to work?
For one, a college student is not going to come back for a minimum wage job. They're going to come back for a job that they're going to need to be able to make money at and survive here. That's why most of your age group are moving out. They're moving to Indianapolis and Cincinnati or wherever they could find a job. We need to bring, first of all, we need to be able to bring some of the seniors back in town that would be willing to be able to help support job growth, entrepreneurship, promote entrepreneurship. There's 3 different businesses I'm working with right now. Every single one of them already pay over $12 an hour. With those jobs come technical jobs. With those jobs come supervisor roles. There's a lot of management jobs that we could bring to town. SAPA right now has six positions that pay more than 6 figures a year. I guarantee it, you know 6 people that would be able to come back. If any one of your friends or anybody that you knows wants to be able to come and ask me where the job's located at, I'd be more than happy, because 1, we need to employ Connersville, and for 2, we need to be able to bring Connersville back to Connersville, and your youth, your age group is what is going to help support my age group. My age group is supporting my elder age group. We need your generation to come back to work in town. And the jobs, like I said, I can't tell you factory names. I'm already working. There's 3 companies that I'm working with. There's a potential to be able to hire maybe about 500 to 700 employees with those 3 opportunities. But we have to be able to make sure that the county and the city work together. We have to make sure that there's opportunities here. We cannot let a building go to somebody that has, and I'm not defaming Mr. Hoffman, but we need to do our research. We need to be able to, there was one of the companies was looking at the D&M building. We have a gentleman that's actually been served prison time. He's already got a judgment against him for $500,000. That cut ties is one of the possibilities that I have. I've shared that with Dan Parker, because I told him, I said, now that opportunity is off the table for us. That opportunity could have employed people instead of driving to Shelbyville, that could have put them back to work here in town. That employer pays on average $17.50 an hour. I've also worked with another company that wants to be able to work with Wayzata. Wayzata, it's in their ballpark. They haven't responded back to this company to be able to say that they just bought a $1 billion a year company about 3 or 4 months ago. To have a company that we're helping support in town that's not willing to work with another regional large company, one of the largest in the nation, and not want to be able to help support that and to bring jobs into town, we need to reevaluate that. So the jobs that we need to bring in town need to be structured. We need to make sure that every one of them, first of all, they're going to, instead of giving an abatement, hold off on the dinger, I'm going to tell them that one of the things that's going to be in that abatement, 75% of the people have to be from Connersville, and if they can't find the 75%, then they can go to the outlying communities, and I won't work with the outlying communities to make sure that they're doing the same thing for their new potential employers.
All right.
Holly.
So to answer Rachel's question, I'm going to say that, for one thing, we have to rebrand and remarket Connersville. If we don't change how we quit talking, how we speak about where we live, they're not going to want to live here. So when we get the phone calls and we say, don't come home, then we become part of that problem. Does that make sense? So backing it up and saying to Rachel, like, what I want from you is, I want to know your ideas. What is it that you believe that Connersville needs? So when we rebrand and when we remarket, we can build a community around the desires of our younger populations. Because if you don't notice, we grow older, and when we grow older, we pass away. When our kids move away, we go live with them because we want to be near our grandkids. So if we can't promote ourselves as a place worthy to call home, then they're not going to want to be here. Going back to that idea that people will drive. I lived in Denver for 5 years. When you live in Denver, from one side of the city to the other is 45 minutes. Where can you be from 45 minutes from Connersville? And at the same time, I'm going to try to say this again, we are one of 8 schools in the whole state that offers early college high school to our youth. How about that? First try. And so what I'm saying with that is we have to promote that to our young families. When they look at moving back home, we have to tell them all the good things that we have to offer and stop dogging where we live. We have to stop it. Just stop it. It's time to change. And what that means is we have to promote them in work. So when they are working for you and they give you ideas, we have to hear them. And when I work with business owners, I want to know what are the new technologies that our youth are going to bring, and then I want to bring them back home and put them in internships, let them build those relationships while they're in college, let them be trained and equipped during their summer breaks, during fall breaks, during Christmas breaks. Let's work them while they're home, and then when they finish school, even if they don't have a job, they might want to live here. right? They might want to live here. At the same time, we also have to look at what incentives can we, promote to industry that's outside within our region. So can we use technology to work from home? A lot of bigger cities have used that. So I'm looking at the region and what jobs are available. We need to promote those jobs that are willing to work with commuters in order to improve even the environment with people being on the roads, and to improve their own cost overheads. When you work a 5-day week, you use electricity and water in your buildings for 5 days. So going to a 40-week schedule and working from home 1 day a week, using technology. I think we can explore those options in the industry around us. And when you have someone with a college degree, they can work from home, because not everything is physical labor as we've shifted from that industrial time.
Harold.
Okay, again, it boils down with the EDG. And I remember one time when Autocar was looking to come to Connersville. This here was several years ago. We almost had them. And Wayne County threw another $1 million on the table, and Autocar went to Hagerstown. So we do have to retool. We have to come up with some new ideas. One of the fastest jobs right now is the medical field. Rachel, are you in the medical field? Is that what you're studying? So that's what we need to do in Connersville is instead of trying, we need to get these hospitals coming back in here. Need to get Fayette Regional going. So that's where the paying job is. It's a clean jobs. They're just good paying jobs, and we need those. And I think, again, you're going to be working with your little satellite businesses, because we need to help them, because that's where your factory jobs are coming now. But we need to look at the medical field. We also need, we get short of teachers. We were short of teachers in Fayette County here for a few weeks. So we need to get the teachers coming back. And then law enforcement. Law enforcement is needing people all the time. All the time. So we have to rethink out of the box, because everybody, they think that it's the Ford Motor Companies, the Detroit companies, it's all these companies, and we don't have them anymore. We won't get those anymore. So we got to have a rethink.
Brian?
Rachel, there's ways to bring jobs into town. Like I mentioned earlier about the leads, there's also ways to be able to have the money to do that. Do we really look at the Riverboat Fund? We're actually pretty much on the lowest scale of being able to bring in money for the Riverboat Fund. We also need to look at the gaming commissions. We got to look at the Indiana Department of It, or a development group. I mean, I'm sure that Dan Parker goes out and looks at that, but we need to attack it hard. We need to be able to make sure that we get those opportunities come back into town. Reed just actually had to get a loan to be able to clean up a hospital that they shuttered. Richmond got stuck with that bill pretty much. I want to make sure that, for one, we retain the Fayette Memorial Hospital, and I'd love to be able to work with them to bring you back into town to put you to work. But there's only so many things that the mayor can do, but he needs to be able to use all of his resources. I'd love for you to stay in town. We need to promote entrepreneurship. Why don't, instead of working for a hospital, why don't we help you start your own business here in town?
So I agree, we have to help graduates start businesses in Connersville. We have to, I think the biggest thing I'm going to say is we have to hear you. I think for a long time, your generation has not been heard. I had the privilege this summer to meet someone who was, 95 or so years old, and one of the things that she said was, I said, well, you seem so spry. And she said, it's because I've always surrounded myself with youth. They keep you relevant. I think if it's, as a community, we want to remain relevant, we need to hear young ideals and include your ideas and implement them in our strategies, even in city government.
Harold?
Well, again, it's all about the youth, and we have to. We really have to work hard on getting these kids back in here, and I'll tell you, it's a job that I want to tackle when I get mayor. That's a job I want. So we'll work on it. We'll study it. We'll do everything we can to bring them kids in here. And like I said, Rachel, I would love for you to come back here and work. Aaron's here, so we need, we got Aaron here, She works down at sewage treatment plant. She's our chemist. And as a matter of fact, in the area, she's the only chemist in the area, matter of fact. And so, yeah, we're going to work hard, and I can't wait to start January 1.
Okay. Next question.
Hi, I'm Tammy Dowd, and as we all know, prior to Election Day, we hear the many hopes, wishes, and promises of the candidates. Sometimes these fall by the wayside with the day-to-day demands of the office. My question is not what are you going to do, but what have you done prior to the decision to throw your hat in the ring to be the next mayor of Connersville? One of the best indicators of what you're going to do in the future is to look at your past accomplishments. So beyond living and working here, what nonprofits, civic organizations, groups, and committees have you served on to make a positive impact currently here in Connersville?
Holly?
Oh, okay. I actually forgot. I have been really involved in the Drug Coalition for the last couple years. I think the previous question we talked about the food pantry. When food insecurity became an issue, we looked at what could we do to resolve that. And the high school has a food pantry. I didn't do that. I got asked to really lead that. But I think where you're going to look at it from a different perspective is I did it differently. If you were receiving services from the food pantry, you helped unload the truck. If you had detentions or had problems, I involved youth in that whole process. They stayed after and helped to carry boxes out. And I think what we saw from that was really, what I want to say is there's a book called Toxic Charity. And I know that we can enable people to become reliant on a broken system. And what I believe that I did through the way that we ran our food pantry was we equipped a group of young people to give back to their community. So while they may have had a need, they also were part of the solution. And through that, we saw numbers that dropped down. So we saw 100 kids coming through consistently and dropped to 60 and 50. And I think that that is symptomatic of that when people become part of the solution, they realize they need to do some things differently. Another along that line was teen pregnancy. It was an issue. When I came to Connersville High School, again, this is not something I've done by myself. It's been surrounded by a group of wonderful people and the Hope Center. I see a few people from the Hope Center here tonight. And basically we came in and there was 34, 36 teen parents, teen moms alone. And we really wrapped around services. And when I say wrap around, included the Hope Center, invited the Children's Bureau, brought in people, even this past year from Richmond, a program called Circles, and had them work with understanding poverty and how it impacts how we think, and offered training for those teen parents. This past year, it moved to becoming a teen parent group, not just moms, but moms and dads. And so we want to equip them with better strategies for the future. And so sometimes that involves bringing in extra resources, and I think that is one part of that. As a whole, I think that I've been involved a lot, and it would be too long to list, and I'm not saying that in any kind of an ego. I've hit the ground running.
Harold.
Well, all I can say is I've just been involved in sports for 45 years. And it's like, and sports is like saying you're only a housewife. There's a housewife does a lot of work at the house that we don't know. And that's the same way with coaching, you know. That's all I've ever done is work with kids. Well, not, like you said, no, not bad kids, just kids that need to turn in a new direction. But that's all I've ever done. That's all I ever know. And I'm looking forward to it this year. And that's the only thing I've ever worked with is the youth in sports. That's the only thing I've ever worked with. So as far as going on the other stuff, I don't have a track record on that. But if you want to go through kids, I've done 10 kids a game for 45 years, and I've worked with a lot of kids. So that's all I can say is I just done it through the sports programs.
Brian?
Personally, myself, I haven't been involved with a lot of those nonprofit organizations. I feel that people have their calling. I feel that that's Miss Dunn's calling. I have, just like Harold, coached a lot. I have done different things. One thing that we have with our family is that at Christmas time, anonymously we give to underprivileged families. The family does not know where it comes from, but they wake up in the morning, there's Christmas gifts for them. That's the things that we do. I'm not a limelight person because people don't need, and I'm not saying everybody else has, but I don't need a light shining on top of me saying this is what I've done. Every single person I've come in contact with, I've helped them. I've done everything I can to stand beside them. I've done the interventions on the drugs. I've stood beside that person. I've actually, anything right now that some of the parents could come to me and they could talk to me about some of the problems they've had. I do what I can for the seniors. I do what I can, everything I can for the youth. I do everything I can for the neighbors. I do everything I can for everybody I know. It's a weakness I've got of mine. Actually, my mom said that one day. She said, Brian, you're going to have to watch this weakness because you do too much for people. I know as mayor that I'm not going to be able to do some things like that. I'm going to have to be strong where it needs to be strong. But in heart, in general, I do a lot for people. I don't think that anybody that truly knows me knows that I'd give my shirt off my back. And if that's for a nonprofit or organization, or if that's to be able to, say that I've helped somebody, then yes, I help everybody I meet.
Holly, rebuttal?
I need mentors. I'll be calling. We're starting our mentoring program back up next month, and I'm still in need. So I want to just say one more thing along that line is people don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. And I think as a community, there's certain parts of our population that has been forgotten about. My guess is they're in that 33%. And what I know is they multiply faster than us. And I love those people. They know I care. And if we want them to be a part of the solution, we're going to have to include them in working towards solving those problems. And I feel like that if you'll elect me mayor, I'll be able to hit the ground running in that area.
Harold.
Give me the question again. I was listening.
That's rebuttals.
Oh, rebuttals?
Yeah.
Oh, well, again, like I said, I've worked with the youth, and I'll do everything I can. And I'll tell you, I love this city. I come back here. I got out of the Air Force in 1970, and I come back. I turned down a job in Oakland, California. I turned one down at West Palm Beach, Florida. I turned one down in Indianapolis. But this is the place where I wanted to be. This community is a great community. We just need people to care about it. And I care about it, and I'll do everything I can to make this community a safe area and a work-related, and I'll do all in my power to do that.
Brian.
Tammy, what did you ask me at the Senior Citizen Center?
I'm sorry?
What did you ask me at the Senior Citizen Center? You said your son is in a business and you would be wanting for me to be able to help him out. I will let you know I got that email today. Okay. I haven't replied to him yet, but that's the things that I do, is people like you that ask me if I could help somebody else out to be able to excel in his life. Exactly, that's what I'll do. Awesome. Now, I'm not sure if his model is going to be able to fit with what I do. I'll be more than happy to be able to sit down with him and ask and spend that 15 minutes that he asks of me. I'll be more than willing to be able to do that. And back to your original question is, what have we done to be able to help, as in organizations or people? That's the things that I do. People ask me, and I do whatever I can to be able to go above and beyond to make sure somebody else is satisfied more than me.
Thank you.
Next question.
My name is Darrell Maines, and lived in Connersville for 33 years. I retired from the Connersville Police Department and also owned Dom's Dairy Mart for 17 years. My wife and I work the polls, and we've done that ever since I can remember being in Connersville. We always take interest in elections. You're asking me to vote for you. But the turnout in Connersville at the polls usually is roughly 18%. That's pathetic. People, I don't know if they're just not interested or they don't take the pride to look at the candidates and vote. I question each one of you, if you vote, when's the last time you voted? Why is it important for me to vote for you? And if you didn't vote, why did you not vote?
Harold, you're first up.
Okay, well, I graduated high school in 1966 in May, and I voted that first year. I haven't missed an election except for when I was in the Air Force. I get my ballots mailed to me, but I done what they've done a lot of TDY, temporary duty. So some of the ballots would chase me around, and time I would get them, they'd be outdone. But anyway, I have voted in every election since 1970, and I'm proud of it because that's, you know, when you go to other countries and you see how other countries govern, I wouldn't want to be there. I don't know why anybody would want to take part of making their choices for who's going to serve you or not. And I agree, Darrell, 18% is terrible. That means you only got 10% electing people, you know? And everybody gripes about that, but you only got 10% of the voting population voting for everybody. And so, no, I haven't missed one, and I'll not miss one. I talked to a guy, he just got his U.S. citizenship. He was from Lebanon. And he tells me, he votes here, and he says, I don't understand you people. Over in Lebanon, you don't get to vote. You know, you don't get to. Only the rich get to vote. And he said, I vote he's been a citizen now, I think, 2 years. Don't ask him anything about government, because he'll tell you everything you need to know. And, but no, I think I count it as a privilege, and I will continue to vote till I can't no more.
Brian.
Darrell, that's a God-given right that we have that's written in the Constitution, that we have a right to be able to vote. It's upsetting that 18% of the people vote, and I normally say that 82% is the ones doing the complaining. If they want to complain, they have a right to be able to put their name on that ballot or to be able to push that button of the person that they want to be able to vote for. One reason, main reason why I ran for mayor and am running for mayor is because I know I can make a difference. I know that people can trust in me. I know with my knowledge and my skills that I have opportunities to bring to the table that Connersville hasn't seen in a long time. You know, it said in the paper that 94, 95, and 97 I voted Democrat. Sure did. Because no problem. At 90.
I was running then, Brian.
94, 95, and 97, I felt the Democrat had the better candidate. But right now, the way I see it, is I'm not a politician. You know, you haven't heard this name in a long time, but I'm a statesman. Statesman is actually for the people. They're not interested in government. I think one problem we have right now, we have way too much government. We have not enough concern on the people that actually do the voting. People's lost interest and they've lost trust in us. I wish that I could bring that trust and instill all the qualities back in. I guess it's actually best way to be able to say is you lead by example. Next time when next 4 years, I'd hope that there's 8 people up here that want to run for mayor, and I hope every one of them better qualified than all 3 of us. I want people to bring the quality of life back into town, and I want them to be able to stand tall of what they believe in and to either vote or run for office.
Holly?
Mr. Maines, I know that question is for me, so thank you for asking it because I like to talk about it. I am just going to tell you that, for starters, when I knew that it was something that people were rumbling about, I physically called the News Examiner and said, could you possibly do a story on voting? I also, because when I landed in Connersville, I got immediately involved. I can tell you that the first year I moved here in October, I didn't know enough. The second year, that when there was an election, I can tell you the exact day and the exact story. I had a little girl that didn't want to go home because of meth, and I actually think Joey may have been in my office. And literally, the plan was to go after school. Every single year when you work a social work role, there's just something came up. And I'm going to tell you that maybe is not an excuse, right? When I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. And that was not okay. I was raised better. Hi, Dad. But what I will say is Brian closed with voter or run for mayor. I'm running for mayor because I know that if we want people to be different, we have to let them know that we mess up sometimes. And if we want to be part of the solution, then we have to have somebody that we can look up to that's everyday and average. So when you see somebody that can say, I've messed up, I didn't do it, but now it's time because we want to see change, they're going to buy in and believe that their voice can be heard. So I'm going to say that. I'm also going to say, I'm going to flip to my notes because I do have one for this. And it is, we've got to rise above petty partisan bickering. You know who has passion and drive to do the very best for the city. You have to know them and get involved. When it comes to why am I running independent, if you looked at my history, I have voted both Democrat and Republican, and if you go on my Facebook page, you're going to see me with both parties. I actually met Bill Clinton, and I've done 2 different leadership weekends with Mike Pence in my college careers. So when it comes to who do I stand by, I wish that when we watched Channel 3 the other night, there was no D or there was no R, because I think we are intellectual, educated people, and if we would have watched, you would know who you want to vote for, and a letter shouldn't make your decision.
But I still feel that I didn't get the straight answer. All I'm asking is, did you vote? Have you ever voted in Fayette County? Did you even vote in the last primary? I think that's fair to ask all 3 questions. It's either a yes or no answer.
I haven't voted in Connersville in 4 years. I voted, the last time I voted was in Ohio, and it was the year before I moved back here. Before that, I was in Denver. If you'll remember, that was the Democratic National Convention. I actually got to hear all of the presidential candidates speak, and I made a choice.
But you're still asking us, this entire group, to vote for you.
I am.
Harold.
Okay, the reason I wanted to vote, number one, Vietnam War was going on heavy. And I wanted the right guy, because I'm getting ready to enlist in the service. I want the right guy in the right place to go and take care of me. Now, the guy that I voted for didn't win. The other guy did. But when I would, being in the military, Sam will he'll agree with this too. You may not be like the guy that's in there, but you'll die for him. Is that right, Sam? And so that's how I feel, because it's a right. I mean, I guess if you don't, to me, the biggest mistake they made when they cut the draft, because now you don't have that love for country anymore. You got the World War II guys, you got the World War I guys, you got the Vietnam guys, you got the Korean guys, because a lot of people just don't know the military anymore. And it is a rough life, but you know what? I'd do it again.
Right.
I voted in every single election I possibly could, except for one. There was one primary that I didn't vote because I was sick, and if I'm ever sick and if I'm on that couch, I can't get up. Yes, I voted for Ross Perot, too. I always vote for the better man. I feel that I'm the better man. So if I'm the Ross Perot of Connersville, I'd appreciate your vote.
In psychology, I think I should have stuck with the I am, because I am asking for your vote. And but in psychology, they have a theory that looks at where are we most likely to learn from. And what we know is if you take a little kid and you put him on a basketball court with Michael Jordan, they're going to feel like they're the world's worst basketball player. They're never going to feel like they can measure up to Michael Jordan. But if you put him on the court, say with Harold Gordon, he might actually believe that he can be a good basketball player. 85% of Connersville did not vote. 85% did not vote. I'm going to vote. And we registered 300 people this year, and I believe they're going to vote. And when I challenged these guys to do a 3-way photo and send a mailing out to get everyone in Connersville involved, they declined.
Next question.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Gary D. Woolery, and some of you people over here can't see, and some of you people can't see, but please, and I know Daryl said no applause, but we have Sheriff Joey in the house. And besides recognizing Sheriff Joey, the next question will be pertaining to his profession, so he'll definitely want to hear the responses to this. When I first met Sheriff Joey, he was Deputy Joey, and he was kind of working with the drug guys. So now he's Sheriff Joey, so So you probably like this answer. And my question to you candidates is, the Drug Task Force has done a wonderful job in this city combating our drug problem. But now with the city's budget cuts, and if their money is depleted or go away or diminished, what will you do as mayor to help Sheriff Joey and our law enforcement keep the Drug Task Force on track? That's my question.
Holly.
Okay. I feel like that there is kind of a misconception about some things. I feel like the Drug Task Force, it came to be because we got the green light from the governor. And I really do believe that those entities came together not through our own funding, but through supplemental funding that came to our community. And I think that if we want to see additional funds coming to Connersville to combat the drug problem, then we're going to have to be persistent. If that means going to Indianapolis once a week and being persistent about us being a community that's in need of extra resources, we're going to have to do that. And I think that there's power in numbers. If you would like to see the Drug Task Force continue here, which it is, I mean, it is smaller, but if we want to see that, we're going to have to be vocal about that. Not just the mayor, but the citizens. We all have to take the initiative to send letters and ask for additional support because we matter, and we have to help them to remember that we have not been forgotten.
Harold.
I agree. The Drug Task Force is doing a great job, and they have another program called Solid Rockets for third graders. And I think we need to help the Drug Task Force educate people, educate the kids. The kids are becoming the drug addicts. They're the ones that's becoming the problem, because by their ages, the time they get to middle school, high school, now we got a problem. And we need to educate those kids. And I think they're doing a great job doing that. And I agree. We need to have more money sent from the state. They're sitting on a $2.2 billion surplus. The counties are dying. The cities are dying. Why? Why are they letting these cities die and the counties die when you're sitting on a $2.2 billion surplus? If you've got that much money, I was always taught if you got that much tax money, you return it back to the citizens. It's their money. Don't sit there and hold on to it while we struggle with this thing. Same way with Joey back there. He's struggling with it. He needs every dime he got. So they could release part of that $2.2 billion to come back to the cities to help the Drug Task Force.
There's only so much funding, Joey, that you know as well as I do, that we can only, the state can only do so much, the city can only do so much, and the county can only do so much. But when a supervisor at Vista or at SAPA walks into a bathroom and sees a needle sticking out of a guy's arm that OD'd, I guarantee it I can work with SAPA to be able to help SAPA help you with the drug program. Grants are going away. We can't rely on the states. We actually have to reach in our back pocket, and we have to worry about the employers that we have in town that care to be able to have a drug-free workplace. Let's ask them to show it. You guarantee it that SAPA would help out. I guarantee it that other companies in this town would help out. I would personally help out. I've done the interventions, like I said earlier. We need to be able to reach out to be able to maybe even possibly write grants. There's only so many grants that can go along. You know, the COPS grant that was mentioned earlier is because there's so many different stipulations. I'd love to put extra cops into, you know, on the force. You know, maybe we can work on that next contract. We can get it into the contract where we can put additional patrolmen that will help you. Why don't we actually get a computer system that all the departments are linked together and they can actually do their paperwork in the police car instead of having to run to the office and work in the office for 4 hours when if they're in a patrol car, they should be out patrolling the city streets. That's how I feel. Why don't they have a link between the city, the state police, and the sheriff's department to where you know if somebody needs help or if you pull a car over, we know that he just got arrested the other day. You know, put it all back on the people. If they need to be able to have, what's the right word for it is, I'll be honest with you, I don't really know. The right word would probably be accountability, is because if somebody keeps on doing something, Joey, don't want to put somebody in your jail, and then 2 days later they get out. We had a guy that actually took one of the public informants out to the county Took his clothes off, beat him to death, left him for dead. Very next day, the man is sitting on his porch dealing drugs again. I tell you what, I will personally go to the state level with you and the chief of police and anybody else in this community that could stand with me, and we would make sure that we would actually have funds to bring back into town to make sure that kind of nonsense doesn't ever happen again. We need to be tougher on our drug laws. We need to make sure that the people that do get arrested don't reach the streets back again in the same sense that they're at right now. We need to be able to make sure that somebody stands with them. We need to educate the parents, because the parents are also part of the problem. The ones that actually, they don't see their kids get into drugs until it's too late. You know that as well as I do, Joey. It's not, I'm part of the problem. You're part of the problem, because we can't come together and work together and make it stop.
Howard?
I'm going to say Joey is he's a Democrat, so I'm just going to be careful. No, I'm just kidding. I love what that guy does, and the Schools Rock program is actually curriculum through Guiding Good Choices, which is another data-driven program that has shown that it works. And so I appreciate Joey for that. I also appreciate the fact that he followed through with a promise and had a Citizens Academy where everyday people like you and I can go and learn about what he does, because it changes your perspective. When I go into houses, it's different than walking up to a car at night in the dark when you can't even tell how many people are in that car. And so when I say that Joey Laughlin's done a great job, I really mean it, and I don't mean anything political about it. I appreciate his work. I think as a community, when we look at supporting our law officers, we have to know that what they see is traumatic, and it's what if you ask them, they'll say it's what they signed up for. But in the process of running for mayor, I went through the crisis intervention training, both group and individual, dedicated 3 days to that, because I think that part of being mayor is also acknowledging the trauma that your employees have gone through and helping them to know that what they're feeling when they walk into that room with the needle sticking out of somebody's arm, and they know the person, they go through trauma, and if we want to help them sustain at what they do, then we have to be equipped to help them process that. I'm already ready for that.
Okay. Harold?
Well, I agree. Joey does a great job. I knew his dad. I didn't know it was Joey. His dad passed away, and finally I realized it was him, his boy. But no, Joey does a great job, and we need to support him. We got to support him, because he's the one that gets the bad guys off the streets. He's the one that makes it when you go to bed at night that you can go sleep without anybody breaking into your house. Same way with the city police departments. They're the ones that make our life easier. We don't have to carry guns around all the time. We don't have to worry about all that stuff like in other countries do. But I'll tell you, Joey is a great guy, and he works hard at his job. He's a great policeman, and like in our local police department, there's a bunch of good guys. A few weeks ago, we had a thing happen with us, and the police was wanting to do their jobs, but the court system wouldn't let them. And I know maybe some of you know what I'm talking about, but we tried our best for these police. These police officers want the best to help us out, and the sheriff's department wanted to help us out, but the court system would not let it. We have to change the court systems also. Going after the drug guys out on the street, unless you've got some courts willing to put these people in jail and leave them there, that's where we need help at.
Right.
I feel the drug task force, and Joey, I'm sure you're going to agree, is every single one of us. Why don't we start neighborhood watch programs? Anybody that comes around my neighborhood and is tempting to be able to, there was a gentleman about 3 houses down. He kept breaking into one of the ladies' house that actually came down with breast cancer, kept stealing her pain medicine. I went down, and my family went down and told him, if it happens again, we'll make sure that you don't ever have an opportunity to break in that window again. If I need to call the police on you, whatever it needs to do, that's what I'll do. The drug task force is every single one of us. It's you, and it's me, it's Harold, it's Holly, it's Joey, it's everybody. Get involved, make a call to the police department and tell them what's going on. Don't hide behind the fact and get scared. If you get scared, call me. I'll make the call for you. I'll be the one that actually goes to the house and tell the person that we're not going to stand for this anymore. That's what it's going to take. It needs the drug dealers and the drug pushers and even the people that's using need to know that somebody cares and somebody's watching them. Because I tell you what, like I said earlier, if I had to stand out on Highway 1 to be able to make sure that any drug user that's bringing drugs into town, I guarantee it that they're going to start spreading the word and they're going to say, I'm telling you what, don't go to Connersville because that new mayor means business and he's going to throw your butt in jail and it's not going to be pretty. And that's exactly what I'll do.
We've been around.
There's an
You wanna-
opportunity.
you wanna do
It's just a
again?
comment. Everybody can go thank our law enforcement this Sunday. They're having an
Right.
event, so I'm just putting that out
What
there.
time is that? Noon?
The Fraternal Order of the Police, and it's,
Out
I
at
think,
Lazy Center.
Noon to 5.
Thank a policeman day. I think we've got time for one more question. Who wants to do it?
This might be a good last question. I'm Diana Phillips, and I'm a candidate for City Council in District 4. And being a candidate, I know I had a defining moment when I decided that I was going to run. And I'm sure all three of you had a defining moment when you decided to run for mayor. This question is for all of you, but from what I've heard tonight, Holly, and this is not an affront, your heart of hearts seems to be with youth, working with youth, and you've done that very well and have been very effective. I'd like to hear from all three of you when and why, the when and why of that defining moment when you decided to run for mayor. Thank you.
Brian, you're first up.
The win has been most of my life because I've always thought that I wanted to be have a difference to be able to make. I wanted to, I didn't know. I've talked to, my mom and I talk a lot, and we sat down for several years, and I said, one day I'm going to run for mayor. And then I started thinking the more about it, and then I got a call from Sam Harvey, and he asked me if I was interested in running for county council, and I said, Sam, if I'm going to run, I'm going to run to where I can make a difference, and if I'm going to do it, I'm going to run for mayor. Why I'm running is because I can make a difference. I have the ability right now. We've said for years, everybody said that they wish they had a mayor that would put his business on hold and to be able to share with the knowledge that he has to be able to move this city forward, and that's exactly what I can do. I am in my prime. I do make good money, and if I'm willing to be able to put that on hold, I think that that speaks a lot. Because to me, it's not about the money. Like I mentioned earlier, it's about every one of you to bring jobs into town, to bring our kids home, to employ you. That's why I'm running. When I've always respected the mayor's office because it's held in high regards. But have we really had a mayor that's brought us out of the turmoils that we've been in? No, I don't feel so. Have we really had a mayor that's worked with the city council? Have we had a mayor that's not been a micromanager? Have we had a mayor that's really worked with the EDG? I'm a sales manager. That's what I do. I have 3,200 contacts that I deal with throughout the United States. I have the opportunity to bring them to town, and I bring more to the table, I feel. Nothing against no disrespect to any other former mayor. I have more to bring them to the table than any other mayor in the history of Connersville. I feel that this mayor election is the most pivotal election that we've ever seen in the history of Connersville. We've always had business flow in. It's gone. We're not going to get a 3,000 employee company paying $25 an hour to sweep the floor. They're gone. We need to be able to be structured more. We need to bring good, solid, structured businesses to town. We need to work with the seniors. I hear both of my opponents talk about juniors a lot. I'm big into learning from my seniors. What I've learned from my seniors, I'm interested in teaching to my juniors. I'm the generation right now that can bridge my senior and my juniors and bring them all together. This is one team that we can form that I need everybody's cooperation for. I know it can happen this way. I'm speaking from experience. There's no I in team. Everybody that I work with.
Holly.
So Diane, I really appreciate that question. I've told the story quite a bit. When I went to Denver, when I left, I can remember where I was standing. I had gone 2 specific weeks. I went in 2004 and again in 2005 to a 3-day leadership academy hosted by Mike Pence. And I remember sitting in a room going, I want to do that. I want to do that. And that's what fueled my decision to go to Denver. And when I got back here, if you knew my job history and what I had applied for a lot of jobs in DC. Prior to that, I had never really worked that. As a matter of fact, I wasn't qualified for the job that I got at Connersville High School. They wanted a social worker. I didn't have a social work degree. I had 2 communication degrees and a psychology, basically, a behavioral social science degree. But they took a chance on me, and I went to work there. And I'm going to tell you that had I not been there for those last 6 years, I wouldn't be here today. Sometimes you have to be somewhere else before you can go where you're going. Probably 6 months ago, 8 months ago, prior to my coming out, so now coming out a year ago, I had a conversation with Cindy Burnzot, who is a heck. And I told her that this was something I was interested in, but I didn't know if now was the time. And again, I talked to Gabe Nobby, just saying, wow, this is something that's really on me, but I felt like I had to give up so much in order to move forward. I didn't know if it was time. And I can tell you exactly when I knew that I was supposed to run. I was in Indianapolis. I was listening to a message on the parable of talents. There is no hiding the fact that I am a Christian. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. The measure of success is multiply. And everything that I've been blessed to be a part of has multiplied. And if not there, why not now? And so I sat on it for another 2 weeks going, are you really serious? This is what I'm supposed to do? Because the pressure was so much for me to do it. That when I sought counsel, and about 5 people, if you know me, I'm friends with everybody, but my group of who really gets to have an input, it's pretty small. And when those 5 people said, do it, I knew that the time was now. And so here I am. And I truly believe that I'm your best option.
When I decided to run was after my 5th term. I decided the only way to make a difference is you have to be in the lead. You can't sit on the council and make a lead when the Board of Works is leading the directions. And so I wanted to be different because I want to be the mayor so I can take the lead and direct people where I think the city should go. And that's the only thing I've got is after my 5th term, I watched how the city went. I was saying on the council, I wanted to go another direction. I ran that term, was defeated by 14 votes. And I thought, well, I still didn't like the way things were going, so now I ran again. So that's right after that.
Brian?
I've never sat on the city council before. I don't have any political experience. It's time that somebody takes the reins that isn't a politician and runs the city like a business. I've explained before, the mayor is the CEO of a business. I've ran multi-million-dollar a year budgets before. My candidates haven't. I have been a part of large budgets. I know. I've employed people. I've made payroll. I've paid taxes. I'm the best candidate. I don't think I am. I know I am. You have to have confidence in yourself to be able to have confidence in the city. And I do have confidence in myself, and I do have confidence in the city that we can actually bring it back. And again, I'd appreciate your vote November 3rd.
I'm going to tell you, you have 3 choices. And this is what I've been saying through the whole process, and that is you have a voice, and I'm going to encourage you I appreciate you, one, for being here, because you really do get a variety of choices between the 3 of us, and I do believe these guys are good guys. And so what I'm going to encourage you to do is step out, be bold, and take back our city. Join a team of people that are going to think differently. And I think that if you ask, you're going to see that our city is really ready for a time of change. And it really isn't someone that has, has a history of, gosh, I'm trying to be sweet. I'm just going to be sweet and say, we gotta go for a history of change. When you can look at a candidate and see what they've done already and what they're willing to do and how much they're willing to sacrifice, actions speak louder than words.
Well, again, I keep saying, we've had businessmen run the cities before, and we had a businessman run the city before, and we went into a financial emergency. Okay, businessmen are out to make a profit. Okay, they're out to make a profit. It's for the top people in the company. It's for the CEO of the company. It's for the board. It's for their board of the company. It's not for the employees of the company. What I'm bringing is I want to work with the people. The government is to serve, not to be served. And so that's what I want to bring back to the city, is bring back government to serve the people and not myself. Okay, and so that's how I believe on that. And I'm losing my voice, but I just think you can't run a city like a business all the time. You might have some of the principles, but there's some things you can't do.
Well, that did sound like a final statement's pretty close, but you've got one last chance. So Harold, you've got 3 minutes, each of you to.
Well, it probably won't take me that long, Daryl. Like I said, I have served on the city council for 20 years. I represented the people. I've coached our youth for 45 years. I want to be your mayor for the next 4 years to be the leader of the city, because I think I can run the city with respect and common sense leadership. That's what I want to bring into it. It's back to common sense again. Common sense rules, it tells you to do a lot of things when other things say do it or don't do it. Common sense is the best thing to go by, and that's what I hope to bring to the city.
Brian?
First of all, don't ever confuse me being a business owner and being an entrepreneur to anybody else the city's ever had. It's sad, and I'm not going to put the mayor down, but when I go and I'm selling in Fort Wayne, they said, you have a prime example of a mayor. He is a mortician, nothing better for a dying town. But I'm in sales. I grow sales. I'm a sales growth kind of guy. Like I said, I've never sat on city council before. I don't feel that that's a requirement for the job. It's a whole new perspective. I feel that and Holly, please don't take this wrong, but if I felt you cared, you would have voted. Harold, don't take this wrong. When you say a CEO doesn't need, or a businessman doesn't need to run the town, that we've had businessmen run the town, nobody's seen anything like me. I'm unique. I'm a go-getter. Nobody. I ask for everybody. There's only one thing that I've ever asked for every employee that's ever worked for me, to try to keep up with me. And I'm going to ask you the same thing. Try to keep up with me, because I'm going to put my foot forward and I'm going to lead this city. There is no doubt in my mind. People think that I'm pretty serious when I get up there and talk. People's actually said you need to smile a little bit more. The way I look at it is I love to smile and I love to joke and I love to laugh, but this is serious. We do not have 4 more years to be able to wait. I'm sorry I don't laugh and joke and smile up here. I'm very serious when it comes to business. I grow business. I can grow the city. Again, I'd appreciate your vote. People who know me know that I'm fair, and I'm not interested in making money. If I wanted to make money, I'd stay where I was at. But instead, I'm willing to be able to make sure that every citizen stays where they're at. Everybody brings people more, back to town. I wish all of our citizens or all of our employees for the city could make more money. I wish we could. I wish they all could make $70,000, $80,000, $150,000 a year. It's just not feasible. You need somebody that has budget experience. We need to be able to know when we go into contract negotiations that we've had somebody in there that's worked with, unions, that knows what it is with the budget. They can't promise something that we can't deliver for. I'm an entrepreneur. I started off, my first paycheck when I first started off was $34 for 1 month's salary. My boss and everybody else that I've already said if you want more money, you better work harder to get it. And I feel that it's time the city start working harder and more smarter, and that's how we can get it. Everybody is on my team, and I'd appreciate it. Again, I'd appreciate your vote November 3rd. Don't ding me yet. Okay. But I thank you very much again for everybody's time. I can't thank you enough. Please talk to your neighbor. Get out there and ask them to vote. Their vote matters. Their vote counts. Thank you again for your time, and I appreciate it very much.
So I'm going to say thank you again for being here tonight. And I'm also going to just say, if you want a leader that's going to look forward and not backwards and not put people down to gain personal advancement, then you want to elect me. Because when we move forward, we're not going to look back, and we're not going to talk bad about people, and we're going to do this with ethics. I'm going to tell you that at the end of the day, we've ran a campaign from scratch. In the beginning, it was, you're wasting your time. You have no chance to win. And now I'm getting, you should quit because you might win. And I'm going to tell you that I started this to win, and with 3 candidates, it's very plausible. If you'll vote, I will be your next mayor, and I'd appreciate that. Thank you so much for your time, and we really appreciate it. November 3rd is big, but all the way up till November 3rd, from here to there, take a carload of people a day to the courthouse and vote early. Thank you.
One last round of applause for all 3 candidates, please. There is absentee voting at the courthouse, so you can, if you can't be in town on the 3rd, as they've mentioned, November 3rd is the election. If you have questions about your polling location, please call the clerk's office. They'd be happy to help you. That number is 825-1813. And any other questions that you may have about the election, they're the ones to talk to. I want to thank James for keeping time. Didn't have to click too many of you, but
You're just quite the orator.
and certainly for Channel 3, and I would encourage everybody to check the schedule and watch it, and maybe rewatch it just to make sure you know what's going on. So thanks to John Pawsey and Justin Roberts and Joe Menerick for that. And I thank you again for coming. It's been a great night. I'm not sure I was looking forward to it either, Holly, but it turned out a lot better than I thought. And I just want to thank everybody, and make sure you get out and vote on November 3rd. Thank you.